So welcome to our AAM's outreach workshop. Tonight, our panelists will talk about how to develop your communication skills when communicating directly to the public about veganism and animal rights. This is one of our most highly interactive workshops. If you'd like to start if you want to put questions in the chat, that would be great, especially what you would most like to know from our panelists tonight. And subjects you would like us to potentially role play, which will be our interactive part of this workshop. Okay, so I'm Michelle Granberg. I am moderating tonight. I'm a mentor and team member with Animal Activism Mentorship. I'm located in New Jersey, and I've been vegan and an activist for about 5 years. So AAM's mission is to build a global community of powerful and effective activists in order to meet our ultimate goal of animal liberation. We do this by matching experienced activists as mentors with aspiring activists as mentees. Mentors meet one-on-one with mentees to share their experience and knowledge with newer activists so they don't feel alone and to inspire them to become more vocal and active. Additionally, we offer free workshops that train and educate our mentors, mentees, and the public on various aspects of veganism and animal rights activism. We're also proud to announce our strategic alliance with one of the oldest animal rights organizations in the world, Farmed Animal Rights Movement, or FARM. So if you're interested in becoming a mentor or a mentee or just want to get more involved, please reach out to any AAM mentor. Many of them are here in our audience and presenting tonight. Please visit our website and follow both AAM and FARM on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Clubhouse. Okay, so our speakers tonight are Yuri, Malaina, Bobby, and Shannon, and they're all AAM mentors and animal rights activists. Very excited to introduce our first speaker, Yuri. So Yuri, go ahead and take it from here, please.
Hey, thank you, Michelle. Hi, everybody. To introduce myself a little bit longer than I did at the beginning there. I'm a activist with the international nonprofit Vegan Outreach. I'm just new to AAM for about a month right now, just getting started with y'all. So I've been very excited to join a group, and this is my first webinar taking part. So I'm happy to be here. I'm based in Chicago, Illinois presently, but I've been a traveling activist for a long time, pre-COVID at least. And so I've worked through a lot of the country, and I met a lot of you in person, I know. So I'm happy to see a lot of familiar faces here. My own story, I've been vegan for about 13 years now. I started first a vegetarian, and probably about a transition that lasted me over about a year. I had a lot of different things that worked on me to kind of wake me up. There's a lot of folks are familiar with the idea that people going vegan is like a scale of 1 to 100 points, and you get closer as you go. And finally, when you get the last, little bit, you're at 100. And for me, it was definitely like that. 15, 20 points at a time. It took me about a year, but finally I got there and was pretty much an activist for the animals right away ever since. I have a lot of time that I spent doing environmental activism, demonstrations, anti-war, a lot of different causes, but animals was really the one that I just spoke to me the most. A lot of the other causes that I was activist for were definitely involved in justice, which was what made it important, I thought, to take part. But the animals is the one that I think is the root cause of so many other problems that we face. So that's something that I think that is important, that everybody here is focusing on that and working on this issue particularly. It's a good place to focus, to have a lot of impact. So for a lot of you that may not know about Vegan Outreach, I was going to begin just sharing a little bit about what I've been doing with the organization. It's been primarily outreach for for the first like 4 years or so. I did it as a volunteer, just doing weekly events in South Florida where I was living at the time. Doing more primarily leafleting. I'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards. And luckily in 2014, I was able to come on board as a traveling activist. And from then on was going through the southeastern United States, Texas, eventually the Northeast and the Southwest, all over the place. So it was a really lucky opportunity for me to really be able to do outreach full time and have a lot of impact that way. For those of you that don't know, Vegan Outreach, it's an international nonprofit that primarily like aim is eventually eliminating the exploitation of animals. The main focus for Vegan Outreach is farm animals, just because of the scale of the impact and how much effect people can have in focusing there as far as like becoming vegan and then becoming an activist. It's where you can really influence the most effect to save animals, to help animals by focusing there. Is 99% animals basically that are harmed by people as for our food. So that is the purpose of it. The organization began somewhere, I think I can't really remember, it's 1993 or 1995. The founders of it were students at the time at University of Cincinnati, where they started a veg club and were doing animal activism on campus there. They wanted to do that after they graduated. They wanted to do that full time, so started the nonprofit and started out really small. So 1995, I think in 97 was the first time that they put somebody out to travel the country, leafleting colleges where they went. One person, and I think like, and then sort of almost every year after that with fundraising, we've been able to add one person, and each year as it went. In 2003, Vegan Outreach started their project, Adopt a College, which became a national network of volunteers participating in leafleting primarily and focusing on college outreach. And so that really grew the amount of students that was reached. Those early years, it was probably 10,000, 20,000 per semester. And adding people in and getting more volunteers, it grew until like around 2014. Vegan Outreach and the network of volunteers were reaching about 1 million students every semester, every 4 months. So it was really, really heavy impact. A lot of what we got to do was getting people to go vegan, obviously, but the other side of it that was really impactful that I feel like is that we got the opportunity to be the one to introduce so many people to veganism. So maybe they didn't go vegan from meeting us on campus, but they got those points started racking up. And if any of you have ever leafleted, you can see the effect pretty much right away. You do have like people are really struck by getting a leaflet in their hands, and the amount of conversations is incalculable. But the amount of people that get one and are affected on their own is much, much higher. It's really powerful in how you're getting the info to somebody, and on their own they can follow up on it and investigate further. And it's sort of like at that point it's like their own point of view. They're investigating it on their own, and it's not an external influence. So that's kind of one thing I feel is really powerful about that. But I'll talk more about that about that afterwards. So I was gonna part of the presentation, my part of this, I was going to go through some of the different types of outreach that I've done personally, that I've been involved in, and talk a little bit about like what I feel like is really impactful about those. And some of them I know a lot of you will have taken part already. So that after we get through it during the Q&A, if anybody has any extra points on anything I'd like to talk about, it would be awesome to hear from you. So yeah, I guess if you could start, Trey, with some of the slides that I had. I'm going to go ahead and through and like explain some of the different types of outreach that public outreach that we do. most of all this that I'll be going over, it's public, person-to-person outreach. Online outreach is really great too. There's a lot of, there's a lot of good effects you can have with that, and make a lot of people aware of the animal issues. But taking part in going out in public at events and the colleges and everything, I focus more on person-to-person outreach. So I'll be talking mostly about that. Okay. Can everybody see the screen? Good. Okay. I think this one, like a lot of you are familiar, is the Cube of Truth. This one is a recent one from Chicago, Illinois. While it wasn't something that I got to do a lot of with vegan outreach, getting to travel the country and meet a lot of different activists and go to visit activist groups in different cities. I did get to take part in a lot of Cubes of Truth in different cities around the country. This is a very typical scene that you would find at one of these. Four activists is typical, but you can do it with almost any number. Even having one person holding the TV and having one person outreach is enough at times. I've done smaller events like that. I feel like it's really powerful. A lot of you, having done this, you would know it's just the way that it's set up, having the masks, having the screens, having the cardboard signs. A lot of them have signs that just says truth on it. It's very thought-provoking, and especially for anybody that hasn't come across anything like that before, it really grabs them and draws them in. So it's very powerful that way. That's something I think is one of the best things about this. We have enough people outreaching, and if you're in a really good spot, it can be really, really productive. Some of the better ones that I've taken part in, probably we had 50 or more conversations, good conversations, lengthy conversations, through the 2-hour event. It's really important to pick a good spot if you're organizing these. This one, it's sort of on a corner in a sort of a 5-street crossway. So there's a lot of traffic, a lot of public walking across the sidewalks, coming back and forth. It's really good that way. I'm more used to the Southeast, but up here in Chicago, a good idea when it gets cold is to do these down in subway platforms, so where you can get down there and keep warm, and you don't got to stand still in the 20-30 degree weather. Thankfully, it hasn't gotten that bad yet up here. But yeah, so this is if any of you haven't taken part in this, there's groups that are doing these style events in almost every city that I've been to. Even not the biggest cities, but sometimes in towns, and you can find them a lot of times looking up Anonymous for the Voiceless. They're the main group that run these, and you just look up search for Anonymous for the Voiceless, whatever town you're in, and see what comes up. A lot of times there'll be a group there that you can see what events they have lined up and go out and join them. So it's a great opportunity to get out in the street and to have a big impact in a short amount of time. So the next one I'll talk about is a similar style setup, which is one that I've done a lot in South Florida. This is the same sort of idea, but it's with a table, which does have some good benefits. Sometimes you do have to get a permit, depending what the town you're in, what the legal rules are there. For this one, I think we had to get donations from Mercy for Animals to get a permit every month or so to do these every weekend. But this is in Miami Beach. It's on a outdoor shopping mall where we were allowed to be there, so it was very smooth. And having a table as opposed to standing with the screens, you can go a little bit longer. It's not as taxing and not as tiring to be there, reaching out to the public. These events, we would typically do them about 4 hours, so it was much easier and sustainable to be out there doing it in this form. We would get a lot of people stopping, hundreds a night. like a minimum. It was a really impactful thing. That's why it's really important to choose a good location, and you'll see if you get it right. It can be really busy, and like each night you can reach hundreds of people. And a typical night here on a Saturday night, we would reach a few thousand even sometimes. So it's very, very impactful too. Unlike the cubes, also like having the literature there is like really helpful too. We would have literature from different groups, literature in different languages. A lot of times there was, especially in Miami, a lot of tourists coming by. So it's really good to have like literature that could help a lot of different communities and cultures. We had like free DVDs, a lot of things donated from PETA, from Mercy for Animals, and a lot of different groups. So like it was really great to have all those on hand, which is like doing a table like this one, you can do those kind of things. The next one, let's see. Okay, so this is a literature table that was recently done in South Florida, Southwest Florida. I believe it was Fort Myers area. When you're doing a school event, it's trickier to do video. Is like in the daylight, it isn't always easiest to see that. Sometimes if you're on a campus, especially, they may not allow video to be playing. But with the benefit of this, you can still have all the literature there. The one thing about the campuses that I really thought was impactful was the demographic. You have a younger population, you have younger people that are more open-minded, more curious. A lot of them are already vegan, but a lot of them know about it and want to learn more. And so if any of you haven't done events on campuses, that you should, I would definitely recommend trying it. The amount of time that you're there, you can affect a lot more people to take action than you can in just like a general on a street or in an evening out on the town. So that's one thing that's really good about this kind of tabling. You can't really see it in this picture, but they do have like some food samples on the table. There's like, we had a big donation once from Primal Strips, the beef jerky, which was a big hit. If you put those out on the table, like in the center and the front, that's one thing that'll draw a lot of people in. You can check for, what's on sale. A lot of times we would have muffins, cookies, like all kind of different things. Schools, like sometimes they'll require you to have like individually wrapped snacks, but other than that, it's really easy to do. If you want to try this style of an event, with the food especially, it's really impactful. I don't know how many here are aware of it, but there is a nonprofit that's really good that gives funds for food called Veg Fund. They have a very easy submission process, like an application process to get money for outreach. Like specifically for food, you can get funding for it very easily. You just have to explain what you're doing. You do have to like follow up with them afterward and tell them how the event went. If you can tell them how many people were affected, they like those kind of things. They like activists to follow up. But it's a really amazing nonprofit that I've worked with before that gives funds for these style events. So that's something too I would definitely recommend people try is doing events like this with food present as well. The next, let me see. Okay, so this one too, this is another really impactful type of outreach. This is something most recently I've been able to do in campuses. In 2018, I think, Vegan Outreach partnered with Animal Equality to get the footage for the virtual reality. And we got headsets for each of our traveling activists to go to campuses and do these kind of events. This was like super impactful as well, especially in the demographic, like in colleges, the younger people, like a lot of them just want to walk up and do it just because they see the VR and think it's cool. And so you can get a lot of people reach this way, even though it's a little more time consuming than having a TV screen, but for daylight and for daytime events, the virtual reality is really good because it closes in and like they can see everything really clearly. It's about a 5-minute video. So we usually like invite people over to the table. I mean, just even really just being inviting and just even saying simple things. Have you tried virtual reality. You got 2 minutes, check this out. Just really simple. And like I said, with students, they're really open to experiencing things, and they get really, you know, they get really interested. And sometimes we even have lines, people waiting to put them on. But for those of you that haven't seen these type of media, animal quality film these actually with permission in different factory farms, slaughterhouses. There's a video for pig farming. There's a video for chickens, and there's a video for dairy. We usually would ask the students which one they would want to pick, get them a little more engaged. But they probably all went pretty equally, like which one they would want to watch. It's perfect because unlike the TV screen where they can stand there and they can walk away, or they can stay however long they want, this one they're kind of committed. They've committed themselves really to do the whole experience. And so that way, you know, you're really getting them, so really like a good amount of points ahead just from like watching the video and having the short conversation afterwards. It's probably for any kind of like video outreach or media outreach that I've done, it's the one that you can really see most clearly from interactions with them afterwards that they've really experienced something life-changing for themselves. So that's something that's really great. These headsets, the VR sets, for anyone that's curious, it's pretty cheap, only about $50 each. The types that we use, they have smartphones where the media is logged on to, and those attached to the VR sets, but there's also VR sets that don't require any phones at all, and everything is just stored on the headset. So it's very simple and really engaging too. So this is definitely something I would recommend folks giving a try if you ever get the chance. Let's see then next. Okay, oh, here we go, vegan drewski. So this is the only one, actually, this style of outreach is the only one that I've included here that I haven't really done myself yet. But I wanted to share this and to focus on it because I feel this is a really smart approach, especially for anyone that really likes doing the talking, the discussions with people using Socratic method. It's really, really perfect. You have the huge sign like you guys see there. That's visible from like 100, 200 yards away. So like anybody coming into the area that sees that is going to be drawn over to like want to check it out. If like with the tabling, if you're very inviting and engaging with people, inviting them over, you really can just get conversation after conversation there. So that part about it, I think, is really, it would be effective if anybody wanted to do it, because the sign, I mean, is the one thing you do have to produce, but other than that, you can just have cards, you know, available, challenge 22 or 10 weeks to vegan, whatever you want to get people to engage. And just really simply, without a whole lot of like equipment or anything like that, you can get a lot of people coming over and engaging and having important conversations. So that one I love, especially with the dog there. That's what's funny. And then let's see the next one. This is something that I would call canvassing. A lot of you might be familiar with folks that you'll sometimes bump into in city streets, where a lot of times it's more for like a sales thing, like sign up for this this, you know, cell phone plan, or, you know, whatever they're selling. But basically, my friend Ethan right there, he's an activist from Massachusetts. He was with Vegan Outreach for a little while before COVID. And basically what we're doing here, this is also in Chicago. This is at University of Chicago. It's the biggest public school in the city. And so basically we have the canvassing approach is that you have a tablet, or you have a clipboard that you can get people's emails and names, and just basically approaching people and engaging them in discussion, and tell them what they're doing, that you're promoting as free vegan resources. They ever thought about going vegan? It's the same sort of approach, just having dialogue with people. It's really, really effective too. And it's also very simple. You just have a tablet, or like I said, a clipboard that you can collect people's info. Whatever program you want to sign people up for, you can have it ready on the tablet. Having them just enter in their own info, it's really quick. So it's very simple too. That's the reason, like, I think this one is a good one to consider also. You can just basically go, for those of you who haven't done a lot of work on campuses, campuses are pretty much any public school. It's basically public space, just the same as you would have if you were on a public sidewalk. So you can just basically come in and anything that could be considered free speech, you're allowed to do there. So if you want to approach people, if you want to leaflet, you do maybe need permission sometimes for a table. But that's one thing I really love about doing outreach, approaching students, is also that openness is like, just you can get access to a lot of people really easily. I think like that day when I was with Ethan, like he got 200 something students signed up in about like 3 hours out there, and I got almost that many. He beat me that day. But it's a really easy approach anyway. And yeah, just with a tablet or, something to collect people's info, you can get info to a lot of people that way. So, and then I think the last, yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is the thing that I've spent most of my time doing with vegan outreach, was leafleting. It basically is the same approach that the others, like I said, like colleges are just like amazing locations. This is University of South Florida in Tampa. It's a total free speech school, so nobody ever bothers you there. Like you can really walk up, even bringing a table with you, and doing pretty much anything you want. The location where we're at here is like in front of the main library on campus. Just approaching students like you see me doing right there, with a couple of volunteers. I think like a few days there, we used to go once every semester to make sure that school was visited. And every time we would be there, minimum, we would reach about 3,000 students, sometimes as many as like 5,000 in just a couple of hours. For any of you who haven't tried it, just the simplicity of it and the easiness of it is what I really like feel like is impactful with this. If you're on a campus, if you're a student and you've been on a big campus, you know how busy it gets during a class change. There's just like a flood of students going one way or the other way. And getting out in the middle of the sidewalk, like you see me doing there, and just basically getting leaflets into people's hands, you can really affect a lot of change. The surveys that have been done on leafleting is for every 100, it's about 6 people that go vegan or vegetarian. The number of people that change something about their diet is much higher. It's like almost 40%. So they'll give up one, they'll get it, like I said, they'll get started on the point system, and they'll like maybe give up beef, they'll give up eating pigs, they'll give up eating chicken, something, and get the process started at least. So if you go out there in class change, you can leaflet maybe 300, 400 students in about 10 minutes. And so that adds up, like the impact of like how many people you can affect and get to consider veganism is just like really high. So that's one thing I really, really like about this style of outreach. The leaflets that we have right there are available for free from Vegan Outreach. Let me see if I have one here. This is like what the newest one looks like. What is Speciesism? That's like it's an introduction to veganism, same thing in the concepts, and so many people do know about veganism now. It's introducing the speciesism idea to them, and it also covers different things like environmental racism, and it has some good starting points for the nutrition and different things like that. But Vegan Outreach keeps it very focused on the animals primarily, because just because the idea, if you can get somebody to really understand veganism and why it's important, if they choose to become vegan for the animals, for somebody other than themselves, it's something that's going to stick with them much longer. So they'll stay, after becoming vegan, they'll stay vegan. So that's why we really like to focus on the animals and for the impact that way. But yeah, so those are the main ones that I've taken part in. Thankfully, like it's just been really lucky with Vegan Outreach that I've been able to do that pretty much full time. At least it's until last year, and hopefully getting back out there soon. But it's a great way to make a big impact. So if anybody would like to have more info about it, how to get leaflets, or how to do any of these style events, you can find me on AAM or on Vegan Outreach, and be great to hear from you. So thanks. I guess that's it for me.
Thank you, Yuri. That was wonderful. A lot of great, really, really great information, and we'll talk more about that when we get to our portion. Of people will definitely have questions. If you have questions for Yuri or the others, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll try to get to those later. But next up is Malaina. Malaina, if you're all ready, go ahead and take it away.
Hey everybody, my name is Malaina Watts. I live in Florida. I've been with AAM since June, so it's been about 4 months that I've been a mentor. I've been vegan for 5 years. I've been pretty active, especially in the last couple of years. I currently work at a plant-based school, which is amazing. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about actually doing the activism, meeting people where they are. No matter whether you're a new vegan or you've been vegan for a while, you probably heard a lot of the excuses. You probably use some of the excuses that people do to not go vegan. And as time goes by, they sometimes get wearing on you, hearing them over and over again, because you have all this knowledge now and you want to pass it on, and you think it's common sense that people should know these things, but they don't. Like, we weren't raised vegan, most of us. We didn't have the same knowledge. So we want to try to meet people where they are in life, and think back to when we were pre-vegan. And I know sometimes we want to get upset about things that people are not understanding as well. And I've been guilty as well as of coming off and not explaining things. And I think that we need to, these conversations we have with people, we need to really meet them where they are, explain a little more about, the industries, approach them with questions, like, have you seen this before? Are you familiar with these industries? Do you know, what happens to the animals? I think that's really important. A lot of people suffer from what we call cognitive dissonance, which is the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, especially relating to behavioral decisions and attitude towards change, which is basically, we were brought up learning to love cats, love dogs, hamsters, guinea pigs, but we take these animals, pigs and cows, and we assume that they were taught they were food animals. So I think that it's important when we approach people that with these conversations that we try not to insult or shame when we first approach them on these things, and think about what we would have done, or what what somebody could have done or said or shown you to make you go vegan at the time. So I think sometimes you can use things from your past as a pre-vegan. For example, my husband was a butcher at Publix. We both worked there. He's been a vegan for over a year now. He's been my best mentee. He's pretty awesome right now. But we decided to take him being a butcher and turn it into, we did a shirt that says vegan butcher. So it's a good talking point to bring people in to discuss, how he changed himself, how he, went, from seeing animals as products in a store to now standing up for them and speaking out for them and doing things like that. Anyway, I think that, we need to keep people engaged in conversations, not insult them or shame them, and then keep them going on things. And we know that we've heard a lot of the different excuses, everything from God gave us dominion and we need calcium and we've always done this, and cavemen, and sensory pleasure, convenience, overpopulation, it's sustainable. You know, we're still using them for entertainment and transportation and clothing, which we know better now that we don't need them for any of these things. A lot of people, you know, will tell you these things, and you feel like they should, you know, they should know better, but they don't, because, you know, we were all brought up with, you know, everything's humane, or it's grass fed, or, you know, things like that. So I think it's important to take time to explain and to research and to look up different resources and find the answers to these things. I'm a work in progress myself. I like to listen to a lot of people. We do lots of activism, from TVs to passing out food at slaughterhouses, or ice cream on the beach, or, you know, things like that. And you meet lots of different people. So I think that it's good to read up yourself on a lot of different literature, watch the documents that are available, and just keep your knowledge going. People, you know, don't understand, you know, they want to be there for climate, to help their climates and the environment, but they don't understand that what they're doing with the animals is contributing to these things. So I think a lot of different resources are available through PETA and Farm, Mercy for Animals, the Vegan Outreach, Challenge 22. There's tons of resources out there that you can go to get free literature or posters or stickers. Some of them will be sent to you for free. Some ask for donations. Some are printable. So there's a lot of ways to educate people and let them know what's going on with the animals and how to help. I find that one method that I've been trying to implement is to ask people questions and try to get them to come to their own conclusion, almost like a 2-year-old, you know. How do you feel about this? Have you seen this? Do you know what's happening in the industry? Why do you feel like you need to do this? Why, you know, do you know, ask them, you know, have the answers for, you know, dominion or religion. I mean, religion's one that's a big one with me that I'm not so familiar with. And I think that there's some resources, like if you have not seen A Prayer for Compassion, a friend of ours, Thomas Wade Jackson, he did a documentary where he went and met with many leaders from different religions, and they gave their take on how they feel about animals and their place, you know, in the world, and how they feel about these traditions where they're doing things to animals, like Paporos, where they're, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but, you know, they pass their sins to a chicken and swing them over their head and you know, and end their lives, which is, you know, obviously a pretty barbaric tradition. So I guess it's all about educating, talking to people, meeting people where they're coming from, understanding, maybe empathizing with them, you know, letting them know that we didn't stop doing, you know, we didn't stop eating animals or using animals because it wasn't something we, you know, we didn't like the taste of them, you know, or different things like that. I mean, as horrible as it sounds, but let them know that, you know, these aren't reasons to continue to abuse animals. There's, you know, protein comes from plants, and people use excuses like business and profit. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Mercy for Animals, but they did set up the Transformation Project, where they're helping farmers move over to sustainable farming and doing things like mushrooms, almonds, you know, making plant milks, things like that. So there are a lot of different resources. There's also, you know, some hard topics, like some people have asked me when I've been out doing activism, you know, they all want to change the subject from why are you out here for the animals? What about human issues? What about abortion? What about, you know, this, that, and the other? And those are ones that are a little more touchy that I've learned myself to just say, you know, I'm focusing on animals right now, and if that is a cause that you want to take on, then there are many resources online to do that. As far as well, I'm losing my train of thought. But yeah, there's a lot of places that you can get resources from. There's a lot of documentaries to watch. Darius Scary, Dominion, Earthlings. If you meet people who are athletes, they can watch the Game Changers. Some people will go vegan for their health. Like as Yuri said, obviously it's better, but we can get them into the animals, but health is a good place to start as well. And What the Health is great for that. People don't understand sea life. Seaspiracy is a great one for that. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Michelle, and I guess we can go ahead and answer questions in a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Melina. That was wonderful. Lots and lots of great tips that we want to put into practice. So next is Bobby. Bobby, if you're all set, take it away.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bobby. I've been a vegan activist for about 6.5 years. I work mostly with Animal Save Movement and LA Animal Save. I've had experience doing a lot of outreach. I produced a vegan travel show, so I've done outreach in a lot of different countries around the world, in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, and in the UK, stuff like that. So yeah, but today I want to talk about things like expectation, preparation, education, and what results we can look for. And I think it's important to remember that it can feel like we went vegan overnight, even though I often joke that everyone goes vegan overnight, because I mean, if you look at it a certain way, technically we do, but it can seem like it happened quickly to us because we're on the other side of it, right? But I mean, unless someone was born into a vegan family, it was a process that took years or even decades, right? When we say that, or when, you know, if we believe that we went vegan because of a single event, we are disregarding the complexity of our entire life experience. And so if we say things like Earthlings made me vegan or Dominion made me vegan, we disregard everything that came before that, which was all part of it. You know, when you're growing up as a child, like watching Dumbo or Bambi or Chicken Run or Babe, those are all part of it because they're positive animal experiences and showing compassion for animals. And so the chance of getting to someone to commit to try a vegan or plant-based diet is just from outreach is low. However, it's not impossible. But so it's really about having the proper expectations can keep you from experiencing what we call burnout or getting frustrated and angry. And then once you go from your logic or rational mind to your emotion mind, it's pretty much over for you. Because then you're just acting on your emotions. And that's generally not a good idea when we're trying to give people information and have compassion and understanding. So let's just say for an example, let's just say you're talking to someone who's 30 years old, right? That means they've had 30,000 meals in their lifetime. If they're not vegan, most or all of them had animal products in them. So you've got 30,000 examples of conditioning against your 10-minute conversation. Just something to keep in mind when we're talking about expectations. It's not about getting someone to go completely vegan just from talking to you. It's about creating a little more awareness, getting a little more dirt off the glass, a little more light in, and hopefully that can happen enough to where they get there eventually. But I mean, we say it, and it is a journey. We're born vegan, but we don't really have the chance to express that because most of us are not born into vegan families. And so it's something we have to relearn and we have to rediscover. And it's something that we have to have patience with when we're doing outreach for others. Now, let's talk about defense mechanisms, right? Most people, a lot of times people will say, oh, well, I can't do that. Well, maybe I can do this, but not all of that. Maybe I can go vegetarian, or maybe I can just stop eating beef, you know, but I can't go vegan. Now, why would somebody say that? most of the time, I think it's because people have this idea that becoming vegan means becoming an entirely different person, right? That it's this massive, drastic change, and it seems like it should be. But if we look at it, it is rather superficial. Nothing about our core of who we are changed. We use different words. What we consider food is different, and the clothing that we wear is different. That's the basics of being, vegan. That changes. If you didn't love animals before, you wouldn't go vegan. So you loved animals before, and now you're learning how to do that. Now you're learning how to express that in a better way. But so I often tell people who think, oh, it's just too much. I'll say, well, okay, let's look at this. I'm a 7th generation Texan. So before I was vegan, I loved barbecue and burgers. I loved football and boxing and sports cars. After I went vegan in my 30s, I love burgers and barbecue, football and boxing and sports cars, except it's now vegan. Like, I eat vegan burgers and vegan barbecue, and I can enjoy these things more because I'm healthier and happier. You don't have to become an entirely different person. Your likes don't have to change. It doesn't mean you have to stop hanging out with people that aren't vegan. It's just, it seems, because it is a life change, it seems difficult. And now we know it's not that hard because we've done it, but we have to understand that they don't know that. So that has to be our approach. And one thing, when we're saying, oh, you need to stop going vegan, you need to stop eating meat, you need to go vegan, and that's what you have to do for life. Now, of course, everyone here would say, well, I'm going to be vegan for the rest of my life. If we're working on pure logic and reason, nobody can say they're going to do anything for the rest of their lives. I know everyone here is going to be vegan for the rest of their lives, and so am I. But I'm just saying, if we're working on pure logic, because we don't know what could happen 5 years down the road. We just don't. So I don't want to tell someone, go vegan for the rest of your life, because it seems too hard. It's an impossible thing to ask. So I say, let's do this. Let's do a 14-day experiment. Why don't you try don't eat meat or dairy for 14 days. Doing something for your entire life, that's a lot to ask. It's too much to ask. Anyone can do anything for 14 days, even if it's hard. And this is going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, but you can do it. And at the end of 14 days, be honest with yourself and say, how do I feel? Do I feel the same or do I feel better? And if you do, try another 14-day experiment and move on from there. People are more willing to do that because it just doesn't seem that monumental. It doesn't seem like they need some Spartan-esque strength of will to do 14-day experiments. And I think if we give people what is to them a reasonable goal, a reasonable ask, that they're more willing to accept it and say, okay, you know what, I'll do that. I'll do 14 days. Yeah. And maybe they just want to prove to you that I did it for 14 days and it didn't work. And most of the time they'll end up proving themselves wrong. It did work. So, I mean, that is, for me, that has been my approach, and I've seen it work before. I think Trey has seen it work when I did it in a chat room once with someone who was a biologist in India, I think. But next thing is preparation. And this is important. We have to be educated on what we're going to talk about and who we're talking to. Being able to notice, is this person a gym rat? Is this person an environmentalist? Do they care about animals? Or are they going to try and tell me that they don't care about anything? Which isn't true. Nobody cares about nothing. And it's okay to challenge people on statements like that, but we can do it in a way that isn't so insulting or aggressive. I've had someone who said, I'm a hunter, I'll kill anything, I don't care. And I said, well, I don't know if I really believe that. I was like, I believe you're a hunter and I believe you can kill a lot of things, but I don't believe you would kill your dog. I don't believe you would kill your friend's dog. I don't believe you would kill anything. So let's not work in such absolutes. And he's like, yeah, you're right, I wouldn't kill my dog. I didn't get much further with him, but I got him to stop saying things like that. Maybe that was all I was going to be able to accomplish that day. He was a veteran, he was a hunter, he was that kind of guy. And I don't know what he's dealing with. Maybe he has PTSD from his service. There's a lot of things we don't know. And so we have to accept that we're dealing with human beings who are in different stages of their lives. We don't know what they're dealing with. Maybe you met them on a bad day, right? And if they're angry and they're upset and we respond the same way, what does it do? It just builds up and each person tries to outdo each other with anger and then it just goes nowhere. Like, we can try and diffuse people's anger and diffuse people's egos and cognitive dissonance with just compassion and understanding, say, hey man, listen, I get it. You know, I don't know what happened, but I've had bad days too. You know, and if this isn't a conversation you're up for today, I understand. You know, just try and show them that you're not going to attack them on everything that they do. And it's really just about, you know, focusing on what I'm doing right now. If I'm doing outreach, it's not about, I'm going to get everyone to go vegan. I'm going to end animal agriculture. I'm going to shut down every slaughterhouse today, right now. That's not going to happen. Right. And when we do that, we are losing our connection and effectiveness to what we're doing in the moment, because we're focusing on some fictitious future instead of focusing on the person that I'm speaking with and the message that I'm giving. And when it talks about education, like, you don't have to be an expert on every topic, but let's say the common things, protein, the animals will take over the world. You know, what all farmers will go out of business, out of a job. Just be educated on the basics. Like, for example, protein, which is what we all get a lot of the time, right? Someone says, well, what about protein? I'll say, well, what about it? And they'll say, well, you know, plants are not a complete protein. They don't have all essential amino acids. Like, which ones? Right? Most people don't know a single amino acid. They're not going to know leucine. They're not going to know, you know, like tryptophan. They're not going to know, you know, lysine. They won't know it. So just, you say that, and then they say, well, I mean, I don't know, but I heard that. Well, okay, but why are you so certain about something that you don't really know that much about? And would you like to know about it? It's really just having a base, because I don't know that much about protein. I know the essential amino acids. I don't know how they work. My brother does, but I don't. And so I just work with, okay, but here they are, and they are in every plant. And, you know, I can't prove it to you right now because I am in no way an expert, but you can certainly go and look it up for yourself. You know, and it's really just how much change, how much can I accomplish in that moment, more about being heard than being right, because a lot of the time those two are mutually exclusive. And it's more important to be heard than to be right. We want them to come to the right conclusion on their own from what they heard from us. And that's yeah, that's pretty much what I had to say today. So back to Michelle, I guess.
Bobby, that was wonderful. That was really inspiring and said some really important things. Now we're going to move over to Shannon Blair, AAM mentor. Go ahead, Shannon.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon. I am a mentor with AAM since the beginning, and I live in Florida. Let's see, this Thanksgiving will make 25 years since I've eaten an animal, and Vegan Evan and I just had our 6-year vegan anniversary 2 days ago. I initially started doing activism. Thank you. I initially started doing activism back in the 90s, the late 90s, and I would do table demos and leafleting and things like that. I didn't actually learn about the egg and dairy industries and a lot more. I'm still learning every day, but until I was in my late 20s. So I already had a background, and once I found out really what was happening to so many animals and the extent of which it was happening, then, you know, I quickly got back into the activism. Evan started speaking, and so we started meeting so many amazing activists and just learning more and more. And yeah, so we're ambassadors for $1 Million Vegan. I'm a certified vegan lifestyle coach and educator, and I'm really excited to be here. I do want to say, Bobby, that was so awesome. Such important information for mental health and self-care. And I wish I had heard all that when I first got started with, you know, because once I went vegan, I really, I expected people to make changes as quickly as I did. I expected them to be just as shocked. So I'll get more into that more in a little bit. So I just really quickly wanted to talk about just that different people are going to be affected by different information that they find out, by different demonstrations they come across. It could also depend on the mood they're in that day or what's going on in their life recently, could affect how receptive they are to information, or how able and willing they are to make changes at some point. So I like to consider myself kind of like a chameleon. And no, that's not speciesist. I'm saying it in such a kind way because I love chameleons so much and I think they're awesome. So basically what I mean is by like adapting to anybody that you come across and what it is that they care about, and what it is that they are like, to use the Socratic method and to let people talk a lot and find out about them can be really helpful. And so, you know, Malaina brought up a really great point that everyone cares about whether it's the environment that they want to show up for, or they really are into their own health, or some people don't care about their own health. Plenty of people smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, do plenty of other things that are not the greatest for their own health. But a lot of those people care very deeply about their children and their parents and their nieces and nephews and really close friends. So, you know, and like was brought up a couple times now, don't devalue or ignore health aspects and environmental aspects, because I really believe that most people are good. And with that being said, it can be really hard to acknowledge what's happening to the animals and make a change overnight, because to do that, you really have to admit that what you've been doing for so long is wrong, and that it was causing so much harm and destruction to the most innocent and vulnerable beings that we share this planet with. And that's like a difficult thing to do. And some of the most inspiring activists that a lot of us know of, that we watch their videos and things like that to learn more, a lot of them didn't initially go vegan. They might have initially went more to a plant-based diet at the beginning because they found out about the health aspects. And I come across this all the time, especially, you know, Malaina mentioned working at the plant-based school. I'm there one day a week. The principal is vegan. Multiple people in the office are vegan. Teachers all over the place are vegan. And these people worked at the school prior to the school being plant-based. Now, they're all huge animal people now, but they initially started this journey because the founder and director of the school got onto them about health. She cares about animals more than anyone I know. And so, but she was being smart about it. And so one of the older gentlemen, a husband of one of the employees at the school, he came to one of my meetups, and it was so amazing to hear him talk to some of the other older people who had showed up at my meetup that could relate. And he said, you know, once I took these animals off my plate, I could see the harm I was causing. And so don't ignore that. Don't ignore anything that people care about. Always put the animal message in. But if someone's telling you that they're an environmental activist, it's good to know some facts and numbers, or like Yuri said, to have all different types of literature with you. I have about 5 different environmental leaflets that I'll try to always have like 1 or 2 of them on me. But if I'm going to a climate march to be a part of the march / disrupt it, I bring that stuff with me. I bring all of the ones I have with me. And I bring as many friends with me, and we make awesome signs that relate to both. And you have to adapt to whatever situation you're in. So like here in the United States, it is very different depending on what state you're in. And sometimes what part of a certain state can be a completely different situation. And so, for example, if you come across someone who were to show little interest in caring about animals or worrying about them, which might not always be because they dislike animals. So many people genuinely believe that we need to eat animals and things that come from them in order to survive. And if people believe that, then they're willing sometimes to let bad things happen if they think it's necessary. So, sorry, got a little bit my mind got a little bit off, but so let's say you come across someone that's got little to no interest in animals. They don't really care about the environment, don't care about health at all, but they've expressed to you that they care about business practices and let's say a fair system. So that's somebody that you might want to start talking to about subsidies and letting them know, like, hey, things are supposed to be fair, but how can any business do anything fair when you have these other big giants that are intentionally failing, they're dumping products out and they're just being bailed out. And even though the demand keeps decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, the government keeps, like, that's something that would make somebody like that maybe fired up a little bit and maybe start looking into this some more. And again, once people might stop or lessen for one reason, then they might be able to see other things more clearly too. And when you have a belief for a long time, like I'm sure many of us can relate to this. I know that going vegetarian when I was 9 and continuing on that way for 19 years, you know, I didn't know any of the information that I suddenly found out, and had someone just ask me some questions at some point when I was like because I did go to some vegan events, but I felt awkward and uncomfortable and then didn't return. But if someone had just asked me a couple questions, it would have been done like that. And so just pay attention to signs and cues and try your best to adapt. And it's good. Malaina mentioned watching a lot of documentaries and learning your information. That's so important, because just because you don't care about something or you're so focused on the animals, everyone's not going to be like that. She mentioned the movie A Prayer for Compassion, and it goes over a lot of different spiritual beliefs and a lot of different religious beliefs. And that's so valuable when we're doing outreach, because we come across so many different people. And just because you have different beliefs, you're not going to start a conversation about that. You need to meet people where they're at and show them how this aligns with the values and the morals and the beliefs that they already have and hold dear. So let me see here. I made some notes earlier about things that I heard that I wanted to mention really fast. Let's see. So yeah, so people are reached in all different ways. For me, it did take a little bit of shaming, but it wasn't like in a super aggressive way. Someone that worked with me who had knowledge, she wasn't vegan herself, but she had knowledge about the dairy industry. And she told me, I'm vegetarian for animals. I'm a hypocrite. She said I was supporting rape and kidnapping. I had no clue what she was talking about. I went home, I looked into it the same night. I watched Cowspiracy. That was it. You know, Yuri showed us so many awesome examples of leafleting, TV demos, cubes and things like that. TV on a table with the signs that were in front of that picture, in front of the table in that picture, were really thought-provoking and awesome. And I feel like even if people didn't stop to have a conversation, they were left with 3 strong messages to think about. And that was really powerful. And Vegan Drewski, I've done the eating dogs with him. And that's a really fun and creative form of activism that'll reach other people that never, ever would have stopped maybe to watch footage of a slaughterhouse, got mad because they believed the sign and they have a dog at home. So now you got somebody to have a conversation that didn't. So I think it's important to try all these different forms of activism. Wear the t-shirts. Malaina brought up Cubby's vegan butcher shirt. I mean, that's a conversation starter. Cubby's told me he's had multiple conversations in one day about it. You can get jewelry and things that say the number 269. This is all different ways to do outreach and to reach different people. And remember, like I said earlier, people are in different moods and they have different things happening in their lives. So even the same type of activism could not be effective one day, but then reach the same person on a different day if they were to come across it again. And I love what Bobby said about the expectations, because that's really so important. And it's the same thing. My dad, it took me putting on a video and yelling at him every couple minutes. I'd come out and I'd literally yell. I was so upset. And I said, Daddy, this is what you want me to support? All the capabilities and abilities that we have as human beings, and this is what you want to support, and you want me to be okay with it? And I'd walk away. And I did that like 3 times during a 12 or 15-minute video. My mom called me later that night and she said, your father said he's not eating meat anymore, which now I don't use that word, but the food sampling is huge. Like, and that so many people think that they're gonna make compromises when it comes to food, and that they're gonna miss out. So yeah, I've had the opportunity to hand out some of that primal jerky. People are impressed with that. I've never had jerky in my life, but I love that stuff, and other people seem to have the same reaction. So that's huge. People have things like that they are like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to have that anymore. The ice cream, Malaina mentioned, we did a PETA ice cream giveaway. That was huge. People were shocked. So these are things that can really open someone's mind. And once they know what's possible with taste and convenience now, you let them know about different options that are available. Know what, even if you don't like to go to Burger King, maybe they already do. So by letting them know that the Impossible Burger is there, but to eliminate the mayo, that might be what they needed to hear for them to give it a try at a place they're already comfortable with. Letting people know Chipotle has sofritas, Taco Bell has a vegan certified menu that you still have to watch them on. But okay, well, I know we're a little bit over on time. We're gonna go to Q&A. Thank you all so much. I hope I helped in some way. And I've got a question for Yuri when it's my turn.
Oh, Shannon, that was awesome. Oh my God, so great. Everybody did so great. But yeah, in terms of questions, there's just one question in the chat for everyone. And then we'll see if there's any other questions. And it is for our speakers, when you first started doing outreach, what were your first mistakes and how did you correct them? Does anybody want to take that, Yuri, Bobby, Malaina, or Shannon?
Yes, I can go ahead and talk. Like I said, it's all about gaining knowledge yourself to have these conversations. So, I mean, I've got a lot of activist friends, and myself. I mean, I've seen us go, like Shannon was saying, it depends on what kind of mood you're in that day, different things like that. But I've been guilty of, like, I've got all this knowledge in my head and I see these people and I just want to like yell at somebody like, stop raping cows for your milk, or things like that. Like, those are things that are mistakes because these people have no idea what the heck you're saying or what you're talking about. And, you have to really take a moment for these conversations. I mean, I know a lot of us want to, like, I go crazy when I go to the grocery store and I just have to kind of focus on what I'm there for and get out, but like little thing, I want to say something like everybody. So I'm trying to, like I said, I'm a work in progress as well. I'm trying to study other people's conversations, listen to how other people are coming across, making notes for myself, which is, how I went about doing this for tonight, things that I want to work on with me to be to have more effective conversations, to start from like the beginning and be like, do you know what happens in these industries? Take time for the conversation and not just yell something out to somebody and expect them to understand what the heck you're saying. And I think we've all been guilty of that, at a time or two to, just assume everybody knows, but a lot of people have no idea. Like, we had no idea what happens. We didn't know when we were buying eggs that baby chicks were macerated. We didn't know that, that these cows were being impregnated and having their babies stolen from them. We have all this knowledge now, and we just think that it should be common sense and everybody should be thinking about this, but they're not. So that's definitely an issue that I had in the beginning and one that I'm still working on now to just, get my head right and in the game, to like explain to people what I know and not just spout something out at them and expect them to get it and just be like, oh yeah, okay. So that's what I would say.
Anyone else want to address that question, Bobby?
Yeah, I think everyone here is going to probably say the same thing. And it was our anger got the best of us. It's hard when we first start because when you first become vegan, every day you learn something different that makes you angry. You know, oh, I didn't know this about chickens. I didn't know this about baby chicks. I didn't know this about frog farms. And you know, every day you're learning something new, and you're just like, how much more am I going to have to like carry on my shoulders? How much, you know? And so of course you're going to be angry, and all of us still get angry, right? But I mean, I'm going to ask you a question you already have the answer to. It's how many times have you responded with anger and said, well, that couldn't have gone any better, right? I mean, never. It really just comes down to practice and learning the ability to, you're going to get triggered, you're going to be angry, but give yourself time not to react on our first emotional response, a moment's pause to dig out some wisdom, and understand that this person you're talking to is not an evil person. They're not a bad person. And we get in trouble when we use these words, because things like evil and good, just and unjust, right and wrong, these binary conclusions, the world isn't binary. It's more complex than that. And none of those actually go into decision making for someone eating meat. It's that they believe they have to. Not because they want to, not because they want to hurt animals, they believe they have to. And it's hard because we know you don't have to, but why should they believe you? We have to like say, okay, yeah, you don't want to believe me. I get it. I'm not an expert. And every expert and adult and parent has told you since you were born the opposite. I get it, right? It's really just about not blowing up on somebody, which we've all done.
Great job, Bobby. The whole beginning portion was exactly what I was going to say, and then you added a whole bunch of amazing other stuff. I want to make sure we don't miss Shreya's question from way earlier. So she asked, when you're not doing an organized outreach event, what's a good way to still distribute leaflets in a meaningful way? She also mentioned that she likes to leave them in community, leave one, take one libraries, but she'd love more ideas. So really quickly before anybody else, I just will say that's awesome. We like to slip them in at the doctor's office if we go, or eye doctor, dentist, whatever, places like that. And sometimes on the tables, sneak them in between things. And then I don't know if I missed it maybe, but the art of leafleting is you want to hand it to someone so that it faces them, like the words would be the right way for them, and you extend your arm and you smile. And I like to say things like, have a great night, or if they're going into an event, have fun, or if they're coming out of an event, like Super Bowl, like I hope you had a blast, whatever it is, with a big smile, they will take them from you. And if you have, a kid with you, the kids usually have fun with it, and they'll take even more from the kids. So, but yeah, anybody else on other ways to distribute leaflets in a meaningful way?
Yeah, usually I mean, for my, what I would say, if you're in a rush, you don't have time to go somewhere where there's other people where you can reach people quickly. Some things that I've done is bringing literature to other places where people are looking for things to take. So like libraries, some places like where people have a lot of time on their hands, like the DMV. That's a good one. And if you are like somewhere like near a school or somewhere like that, you can, anywhere that you can leave some on campus, usually like the student center is where I would like put some out on some tables. There's been a lot of like people I've met who let me know they were vegan because they found a leaflet somebody else just threw on a table or something. I think there's something about that accidental way that they were introduced to it that makes it even more stronger, like it was meant for them, or like it's their choice to approach it. And so those are some places that I would say. But yeah, if you have the time, and if there is like some place that where an event's going on, or definitely schools are like the best to, like, even if you have like 15 minutes, if you're there when there's a class change and you can time that, I mean, you can reach 100, 200, 300 students like real fast. So that's what I would recommend.
I think we'll have to just take just the one last question because of time. So, but great, that was great, Yuri. Thank you. So the last one from Anna is, how do you get people to show up and participate in your outreach events? I don't know many local vegans, so I always struggle with attendance. Any tips for that, you guys?
So it's in our experience, well, and actually moving to the Tampa Bay, I thought things were going to be a lot easier when we have spoke over here before, and just lots of people know who Evan was. So I thought that was going to be a huge advantage to get people involved, especially with kids and stuff, but it's been tough over here. So we've had to try some other things. So we've been doing meetups twice a month at the local vegan restaurant. And we do one that is called Vegan and Plant-Based Friends that has nothing to do with activism in the title. Now, once people are there, I will definitely let them know about the activism meetup and what activism is coming up, but we have to like gauge the crowd. We have people show up to that one that aren't even vegan yet, and they're just happy to hang out and have a vegan meal. They're learning, maybe they're on their way there. So that one is good at just like getting people in the area who maybe haven't even thought about doing activism. And if they did think about it, it would make them not even come to the meetup. So then the other one is activism centered. And so people know what they're getting into when they show up to that. And then we've also told a lot of people that if they would get involved, we will do whatever type of activism that they're comfortable with. And I always mention ideas that are not aggressive at all, like chalking and like giving food away, things like that, that are that people don't get scared of. A lot of people feel like they could never, ever handle going to a vigil. And a lot of people change. They feel like that at the beginning when they first start doing activism. But if that were something that was their only option at the beginning, they might never get involved. And the same thing, like disruptions can be very scary to people who haven't done other activism before, and even sometimes for people who've done tons. So I'll see if anybody else wants to add to that.
Yeah, I think it's really just about always showing up. You know, your numbers are not going to be, your numbers are going to grow if you keep having the event and you show people that, you know, every week or every other week or every month, whatever you're doing, we're going to be there, you know. And if you can't make it this time, or if you're still not sure you can do it, we'll be there when you're ready. And eventually your numbers will grow. It helps, like, you know, in LA, it helps being in LA with the vegan population that we have. But sometimes, like, we just started doing save squares. And even though at a pig vigil, we've had 500 people at a vigil. Save square, we had 3, you know, because people aren't sure that they want to go to a save square, or maybe they don't know what it is, or they're just waiting to see, you know, footage from squares and see, oh, that's what I want to do. You have to keep showing up, show them what it is, and just be patient and have confidence that more people are eventually going to come.
I'm sorry.
The only other thing I might add is like when you are running events and like you have people there that are you hope will be coming back, is like, I always feel it's really important to remind them of the impact that they can have, especially if it's an event where you're reaching out to people to change their diet to go vegan. You know, just remind them how many impactful conversations you had. You know, like, think about it. Like, that's each person that we just impacted. That's like 400 less animals every year that are, you know, going to go to slaughter because of, you know, what you were here helping to do. Or if there's somebody that it's like they're motivated by you know, boycott and like financial impact. Like, one thing, like a couple of years ago, I was looking into like the financial impact of getting people to go vegan. And like, what I found out was, like, for college students, the average food expenses they would have each year was like almost $9,000. So, that's every person that we impacted, that's like $9,000 less every year. For a family, it's even higher. And that's like really like where, you let them know like that's really where the impact is happening. And that's happening because you came out to help and we did this together. And that's something I always try to remember to like share with volunteers when they come out. And that's something I think has worked pretty well in some cases. Yeah.
Yeah, Trey has commented here, similar to what Bobby said, don't cancel events just because it looks like no one is coming. And now he just said, if you build it, they will come. And if they don't, kick butt by yourself. Trey and Sarta disrupted by themselves a store that was still selling fur. I think it was Neiman Marcus, but I could be wrong. And they got the store to shut everything. And so one or two people can do it. Another one of our mentors, Stephanie Ann, she hosted a vigil, and me, Vegan Evan, and Wes showed up. There was a huge outcome out of that, a beautiful outcome. She helps out at a sanctuary that's not completely vegan yet. They made her the new director of vegan outreach and dairy education. So like it's so important. You can get so much done. And like Yuri said, just one conversation, you never know. That person could become an activist and start this whole new thing for animals. And if you didn't go and you canceled because you thought nobody was coming, then you never would have reached them. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap up. Did Evan want to say one last quick thing or no? I thought it looked like he did. Now you're muted, Shannon. Shannon, you gotta unmute. Yay.
Anything you want to say quick about outreach? Like 2 seconds?
Well, I love doing outreach because I love getting to tell people, because I like in Cubes of Truth, for example, I think it's very important that people stand in the middle, because then people wouldn't have their attention drawn to it. But I think it's great to I think it's great to be in the cube to learn it all, and then go out there and tell people why they should go vegan, why you're there, and explain to them. And I just think it's very powerful.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Vegan Evan.
Beautiful words to end on, I think. So I'm going to wrap up, even though there's so much more that we could all say, but I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Please go out and implement what you've learned tonight into your outreach. Thank you to our speakers, Shannon and Yuri and Bobby and Malaina, mentors with AAM, for the amazing content that you presented tonight. Thank you, Trey, for working the strings behind the curtain that keeps us going. And I just want to announce our other upcoming workshops. Wednesday, October 6th is Satirical Activism, Why Talking About Dog Meat Works. Sounds intriguing, yes? Thursday, October 14th is our Videography and Photography is Activism. Thursday, October 21st is our workshop on disruptions. Tuesday, November 2nd, we're having Communicating with Non-Vegan Family and Friends with the one and only Claire Mann. And many more workshops are in the works, so stay tuned. Also, this Saturday, October 2nd, is World Day for Farm Animals, which AAM is taking on, marking that day with multiple simultaneous activities honoring the farm animals throughout the day. We'll be going live. There will be videos. There will be content on our page and in our group. So I hope that you'll be looking out for that. So if you are interested in becoming a mentor or a mentee, or just want to get more involved, please reach out to any AAM mentor. Many of them were here in our audience and speaking tonight. Please visit our website, www.animalactivismmentorship.com, and follow both AAM and Farm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Clubhouse. I think that's it. Is that it? Trey's putting all that info, good info, in the chat. If there's any other info and resources, put all that in the chat before we end. But thank you all so much for being with us. Great job, everybody.